Yeah, I'm Ursula Myrie. I'm the founder and managing director of ADIRA, which is a survivor-led mental health and wellbeing service that specifically supports Black people with mental health issues. I'm here to talk about innovative work that we have been doing in the Black community in terms of food poverty. And the truth of it is, it's not innovative in the slightest. It's just, to us, it's not innovative. It's just basic common sense that if you are Black, you would get it and you'd understand it. In order for you to understand about what we did and why we did it and the reasons behind it, it's almost the same thing in terms of working with the Black community. In order for you to understand us as people, whether it's about mental health or food, then you have to understand our past, our culture, our history, because you can't separate them. You can't separate me as a Black woman from my past, from my culture, from my history, and then say you want to help me with food poverty or you want to help fix my mental health. The two are connected. They're all connected. They're all intertwined. And so I don't want to go too far back in terms of bringing up our history and where our love of food and more importantly cultural food comes from for us. I wish Emmett was still on the chat, because I really wanted to commend her, and I pay lip service to no one. So when I say something, I mean it. I really wanted to commend her on being so transparent in regards to what Food Hall are doing. And when she said, they don't have a lot of non-white people there. The majority of the people that come to their food bank are white. The majority of the staff or volunteers are white. And is it a case that they're not coming to the right places to meet the need? Because we always say in the Black community, stop asking us to come to you. You come to us and meet us where we are, because a lot of the damage and the pain and the trauma was caused by white people. So come to us if you want to help to fix us. So let's talk about food in terms of our culture. I'll only go back as far as slavery. I don't know if many of you will be aware of this, but if you look at, I didn't want to do slides, couldn't be asked. If you look at things like this, these are hairstyles. And these hairstyles are called cornrows or cane rows. And it stemmed from slavery, where if you were a slave and you were on the cornfield, then you did cornrows. If you were on the cane field, you did cane rows. And one of the things that used to happen with these hairstyles is it became, for us, these styles are very beautiful, they're very intricate. These were actually, in the days of slavery, the hairstyle was a map. And for those of you who know your history, know about the Underground Railroad, which was the escape route the slaves used to take to escape the plantations back in the day. It wasn't an actual railroad, it was just a name given to the escape route. And what the slaves used to do was, the women especially, they used to do these styles, these cornrows, and they would put rice. You can see there, the mum is putting rice into the parting in the daughter's hair, and then they would cornrow over the rice. So you can see there where she's done the plait, she's done the cornrow, and you can't actually see the rice anymore. And I guarantee once it's in that style, it doesn't fall out. And why they would do that is because, one, the hairstyle was actually a map. It wasn't just a style, it was a map to let the next slave know this is the route to the Underground Railroad. But also mothers would put the rice seeds into their hair when they knew they were going to escape, in order to feed their children along the journey on the Underground Railroad. So that been passed down from generation to generation of how food saved our lives. And it wasn't just any food, it was culturally appropriate food. We love our rice in the Black community. These are some of the things that make us have an attachment to the food in the Black community. When slaves were first taken from their countries, and words would spread to slaves who hadn't been taken yet, that when you get to these plantations, there is no food that we can eat that is good for our bodies. The food was so bad that it would cause things like brittle bones among the slaves, the food that they were fed, and it would have such a negative impact on their digestive system, their immune systems. It would make their hair fall out because the food wasn't culturally appropriate for them, and it wasn't the type of food that they would eat. So these things we know have been passed down from generation to generation in the Black community. So when it comes to food banks, Emmett answered this question herself when she said, the reason she thinks that white people don't use Food Hall food banks and some of the others in the city is because, one, you don't look like me. And I've experienced personally, so this isn't me saying, what other people, other service users have told me. I have personally experienced racism at certain food banks, who I won't name here because I'm not trying to throw anybody or any organizations under the bus, but I've gone there not to use the food bank, but to volunteer at these food banks. And the racism I experienced, the way I was looked at as a Black woman, like, what are you doing here? Because, we really don't need you. I was looked at very suspiciously if I would be putting food into my car to transport from a supermarket to the food bank. People would be checking to make sure I completely emptied my car, that I wasn't taking, none of the food home for myself personally. So that's one of the main reasons we don't use food banks, predominantly white. If I turn up at a food bank as a Black person and you ask me, how am I? And I say, I'm fine. And I ask you, what did I just say to you? You're going to say to me, you said, I'm fine. Listen to me again. How are you? I'm fine. That sound that you heard at the end of that word, the end of that sentence, that sound in the Black community, we have a saying that says there's 10,000 words in that sound. And that sound means I'm not fine. I'm telling you I'm fine, because especially in the current climate, we've all become professional liars. Everybody asks everybody, how are you? I'm fine. Are you okay? I'm fine. How? Everybody's fine. But when you hear that sound from a Black person, I've told you in 10,000 ways, I am not fine. And if you ask a Black person that question and they just say, silence, nothing else after, they're telling you that I'm in so much pain, I'm in so much trauma, I can't even talk, I can't even tell you what the problem is. Unless you understand those things, how can you say you're setting up a food bank for us? So when the first lockdown happened, I remember, looking at all these food banks springing up and thinking, oh God, I've got to do something, because no self-respecting Black person is going to use a food bank. This is the joke we have in the Black community, because your food is not culturally appropriate for us. Your staff don't look like us. Your services are not culturally sensitive enough for us to understand our needs. I've heard people being told, well, if you're hungry, you will eat. So, imagine you're raised as a vegetarian or a vegan. You've never eaten meat in your entire life. You turn up at a food bank and you explain this to them and they say, oh, well, we've got some tinned steak here, or we've got tinned chicken here. If you're hungry, you will eat. Not realizing the impact that has on you as a vegetarian. One, somebody who's never put meat in their body before to suddenly have to put meat now. And two, the impact that has on your mental health. And you mix culture into that. You've got an explosive mix there. So we decided then to set up something. It wasn't innovative. All we did was change one word. We changed the word bank and called it pharmacy. And it became a food pharmacy. And we said to the Black community, food is medicine. Come over here and take your medicine. And that's how we got them. Because with anything with the Black community, you can't go straight on. It has to be carrot and donkey, but it's got to be the right carrot with the Black community. And so we said food is medicine. And during the first lockdown, when we had the food pharmacy, we served over nearly 3,000 people. 99% of whom were Black through the food pharmacy that we ran. When we did when the first lockdown happened and everybody was focused on the here and now and what's happening, I kept saying, what about Christmas? What about Christmas? Is anybody thinking about Christmas? And people were like, no, let's just think about now. Let's talk about now. And I said, look, people are dying in real time. People are losing the main breadwinner, whether that's the husband or the wife. People are losing their jobs. Come Christmas, people will be eating toast on Christmas Day. This is going to be one of the worst Christmases we've ever had. Is anybody thinking about that? Nobody wanted to engage with that conversation. So I went away. I got some funding. I had some specific, beautiful Christmas boxes made. We had 4 hampers made up for Christmas. We had 500 hampers, 4 different types of hampers. So we had a vegan hamper, a vegetarian hamper, we had a Caribbean hamper, and we had a meat hamper. And what we did was make sure that the meat in the hampers was chicken and it was halal, so that it covered everybody. And we gave those out to the community. And, for 500 hampers, we had over 1,000 requests. But it's not about being innovative. It's just about knowing the community that you're trying to help, knowing the community that you're trying to engage. I'm not Muslim. I don't understand about the Muslim community. I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian. I don't understand about any of those things, but I educated myself. I found somebody who knew about being a vegan, who knew about being a vegetarian, and said to them, right, you do those Christmas boxes, you source the food for those Christmas boxes. I will source the food for the Caribbean Christmas boxes. So it's not about being innovative or having to come up with something really mind-blowing and out of this world. It's simply about educating yourself about the community that you say you are trying to help. Thank you.